Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Can I Have a Word with You? Heather Carter's my hostess, and I'm Bruce Pulver. Two authors, two speakers, two encouragers, and we get on here and we just break down a word called Can I Have a Word with You? And we look at it, we define it, we kind of kick it around, we discuss it, we take opposite sides of it, and hopefully that we leave with a nugget or two. I know I always learn something when I'm here with Heather. So, how you doing today, Heather?
I'm doing great. I'm excited this is a little bit of a different approach to a couple different words while we're going at this. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
I'm looking forward to it.
sometimes my mind goes, "Oh wow, that sounds the same, but it's spelled differently." Or those words are they have different meanings. Or how come? And that's just sort of the way this thing spins inside here. I can't explain it, um, but it kind of works that way. And I was having a conversation with a friend who's going through some job changes. Right, he's the position he had was eliminated, and he's out looking, and he's been 5 months, and he hasn't found something. And he said a word to me, and both meanings came to me. It's like, well, wait a minute. That that's something we need to dive in a little more deeply to. So here's the question that I asked myself, and then we'll break this down because you'll hear it when I say these two sentences or this question and then a statement. Are we doing things that freeze us? If so, let's do something instead that frees us. So freeze being frozen and stuck, or freeze meaning freeing or becoming free in some sort of way. But it's the same, just it's the ZE at the end versus an S at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And he was saying to me that, Bruce, I just feel like everything I'm trying, I'm freezing. Right? Or I get frozen, or I freeze. And I went, oh. And I was talking through it, and then let's just break it down. We'll just break down the freeze with the Z in it to start. Um, Frozen from action. I'm stuck. I'm constrained. Maybe I'm bound from
Mm-hmm.
moving. I just feel that like I'm frozen from my action. And when I freeze, I'm also maybe restricting my gifts. I'm holding on to them, or I don't recognize them, or I'm don't have confidence in them, or I'm afraid to share them, or don't want to share them, or I'm disgusted or discouraged. So it's restricting my gifts is the R. The E is it's enlisting doubt in me. It's saying you can't. It's holding me back from movement. I mean, just think of ice, right? Water poured into the container, the confined, ice cubes, if you will. That if you can think back far enough before an ice maker was in the refrigerator, you'd pour the water and put the little buckets in there, and they would make these little cubes. Enlisting doubt. The second E is it's embracing can't. I think when we're freeze or we're stuck in life, we limit ourselves and are saying, I can't do this, or there's not enough time, or all the things that make it something that we don't do or don't want to do or don't think we can do. And then the Z, and Z's are hard, guys. When you're doing an acrostic and you got a Z, they're pretty difficult. But the Z I came up with is zapped of energy. If I'm in a freeze, I feel like I don't have the energy that I should have or could have or used to have or all those other things. And then the last E in freeze, it's a tough one because there's three E's, is endlessly trapped, is how I might feel.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking about my friend as we were going through that conversation, and I wanted to encourage him that maybe he needs to let's just start thinking about or do some things that frees us, do something that frees us. And in that scenario, it was go for a walk or get away from the phone or the internet doing job searches or those sorts of things. Just or maybe double down on something and do a little extra effort on something where you felt like that can't was sneaking in. So I'll stop there and then we'll chat about this a minute, and then maybe I'll go and I'll do the acrostic for FREES, which is the idea there of become or being freed or finding
Mm-hmm.
some level of free.
No, while you were talking, I was trying to think of the things that cause me to freeze
Mm,
up. And I would say one of the biggest things for me is when I feel overwhelmed,
yeah.
like your friend with trying to find a job, and you're getting, wonder if I never, and wonder if this is never going to work, or I start getting ahead of myself. That's how I get overwhelmed, because I'm not living in the moment. I'm living in the future or in the past. I'm regretting what I've done and beating myself up over that, and then worrying about my future. And sometimes I can just be immobilized
Hmm.
by that. I'm afraid, I'm overwhelmed, and I just get where I can't do anything at all. I
Hmm.
don't know how many. I'm sure. I think a lot of women have this too. When you get, you are overwhelmed, even with something as simple as housework and kids activities and dinner and all this stuff. Sometimes you have a million things to do, and you can't. You literally just can't move. Can't get off the couch, or you can't get out of bed, or you can't move forward. You're just stuck.
I don't think that's limited just to ladies.
You
All right.
boys have never felt that? You feel that too?
A lot of times, maybe there's a deadline or there's something that I am concerned about what the outcome might be, and so let me find something else to do or think about, or and maybe it's procrastination. That might be
Mhm.
a word. I know that it's one a word that's in my life. Is it? It's like, oh man, really? I'm dreading doing this, and then you kind of do something that frees you,
Mhm.
and you take a step, and yeah. So that's I agree. It can be caused by a lot of things. It can be caused by maybe not even feeling like it's worth it. Is it really worth the? I mean,
Mhm.
this isn't, and it's that negative thinking that can stifle us and free us. I'm sorry, and freeze us from taking action.
Mhm. I think for me, that one of the overarching things that makes me feel frozen, I'll say frozen so we know if I'm talking about which freeze I'm talking about, is fear. And there's
Mm,
a million different nuances to that. We're afraid of not getting what we want or losing what we have, and or we're afraid of conflict, or we're afraid of being told no again, or be afraid
yeah,
of the yes, or we're afraid we'll try it and it won't go as well as we thought, and then what happens if, what does that say about me if I try my best and it still doesn't work? Am I a loser? It's just a lot of fear. So sometimes
yeah,
we get stuck in that same spot in sameness, I guess.
yeah, yeah. Some of that could be our tolerance for risk, right? And if
Hmm.
we think we're going alone, yeah, that can change. That can really impact. Oh my gosh,
Hmm.
what if it doesn't go well? But if we
Hmm.
surround ourselves with the right people, our faith,
Hmm.
man, I'm doing a lot of things that I never dreamed that I would be doing as it relates to the book and
Hmm.
speaking and stepping into that, full tilt. I don't call it full time. I call it full tilt. Um, if I were just doing this alone and by myself, the things that come into my head, are not always the most healthy for me,
Hmm.
and it can cause me to be frozen. That version of freeze.
I think that we'll probably talk more about this when we talk about ways we can be free, or the things that free us. But um, I know a friend of mine, I'll call and say, I'm scared to death to do this, or I feel like I'm immobilized and I'm afraid, and but these things still need to be done. And she just always says, then do it afraid. Like, it's okay to do it afraid. You're
Hmm.
still going to have to do it, but just do it afraid for now,
Yeah, that's
and
right.
you realize it won't kill you. And
Yeah, yeah. Wow, in the sort of in the realm of safety and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, be willing. Someone just shared with this, and I kind of try to do this is be willing to be a beginner at something all the time. And
mhm,
if you are that, then those fears of doing something new, they don't go away necessarily. But you go, yeah, I've got that experience of trying something different or putting myself out there, and what did happen, and what did I learn from it, and let me do it again. It almost
mhm,
becomes a habit that you seek to do. So I came up with a verse, or found a verse that sort of spoke to me around this, and it's about having the ability, to do something that frees us. And to
mhm,
me, it's Psalm 46, verse 10. Be still and know that I am God. Now,
mhm,
be still doesn't necessarily mean stay frozen or stay in put, but it might be a mindset of just just step out for a second, let it go, clear the mind, take the things that are causing that fear, and being frozen, and
Mhm.
allow that to just leave for a minute and just
Mhm.
know that God has any problem I have is smaller than the God that I have.
Mhm.
And that's something to step in and walk in our faith. So for the freeze, as I said, let's do something instead that frees us. The F is forward movement first. So moving, just even if it's getting up from your desk, or even if it's getting up off of that chair or that sofa, just move into a different, take a step, like have some motion
Mhm.
involved, would be the F. The
Mhm.
R, I don't know if you ask some comments on that about movement.
Yeah, I was gonna say actually there's just a little recovery slogan that I've heard before is just to do the next right thing. Do the next right thing. It
Mm,
doesn't have to
love that.
be a big thing. It's just the next right thing. So that's something that I keep thinking like, you don't have to have the entire thing figured out. Just do the next right thing. So,
Yeah, because if we get caught up in sequential, like which
mhm,
one has to come first or which one is next, then that may even put us on a path that if we did things just the next right thing, a path that we never even thought of would
mhm.
will come in play, and the order doesn't matter,
And if
as much.
if you're overwhelmed, you can't think about doing all the things, but
Right.
you can do just the next right thing,
Yeah.
and then the next right thing after that, and you know.
Yeah. Love that. So the R then became release the grip on results.
Mhm.
I think that some things that if we go back to being frozen, sometimes it's focusing on, well, what's the outcome going to be? Uh,
Mhm.
and I think we have to release that grip. And, golf is a game I love to play. And, a loose grip is really where you need to be when you're to make a good
Mhm.
swing. It kind of starts, that's the only part of your body that touches the golf club are your hands.
Mhm.
And just having a grip that is not focused on where the ball's going to end up, but focusing on where you are in the moment. The results will take care of themselves. They may be good, they may be bad, but
Yeah.
they're not going to be good if you
Right.
are only focused on the outcome.
There's nothing you can control about, not getting attached to the outcome of something. You just do the next right thing and I know that people say the slogan, let go and let God. And sometimes that can sound just kind of oversimplified. But um, I think so many times we focus on the letting go part, but we don't let God do what He's going to do in His time and in His way. We
Yeah.
still are trying to control the outcome of it. We're kind of letting it go, but we're not letting God have it. And so there's this kind of free floating anxiety about what's going to happen instead of trusting God's solutions. I don't know where I read this, but I have it in my head because it's just awesome. But there's a quote that says, if we let it go, or if we turn it over, but we don't let go, we're upside down. We say we turn it over to God, but then we're still kind of like hanging there, clinging to the thing that we've told him we're releasing to him, but we're still trying to control that. So I think that's huge what you said about letting go of the results. Like you don't
Yeah.
have control over that. And the more you try, the less free you're going to be because you're going to be held captive by those,
Yeah.
by
So
turning
much.
out how you think it should.
Absolutely. And from maybe the guy's perspective, not trying to take sides on this, but just from kind of how we've been wired or traditionally, we are responsible in many of our jobs, our careers, our positions, to own the results. I mean, we've got to deliver a number. We've got all
Mhm.
of those kinds of things, and so to untether ourselves from that is rather counterintuitive, right?
Mhm.
What do you mean? I got to figure this thing out. I wonder if I just release the grip on the results,
Mhm.
it could create an idea of I don't care. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm not caring about what happens, and oh
Mhm.
my gosh, it's got to be the most important thing. All not just job, but family and all these other things. Like we kind of get that drilled into us for whatever
Mhm.
reason that, you're the caretaker. You are the person that is responsible for the outcomes of things. So
Mhm.
to step away from that and say, release the grip on the results can have yeah, I can't do that,
Yeah.
pushback.
It's almost as if that what all that Jesus said is actually true, that we can trust him and that he is here to make us free. Um, we have God's guidance to do the things that we do through, I believe anyway, through his spirit in us, through the Holy Spirit. And it's, which sounds too good to be true. It sounds too good to be true that you could just turn over your problems to this power greater than you, which is God, and let the rest go and let the results be up to him. That sounds naive and childish and just irresponsible, actually, to a lot of people and to me sometimes. Um, but I have to believe that what the Bible says is actually true,
Mhm.
that he
Yeah.
will take care of it, and that we don't have, we have to hold our plans, or make our plans, but hold them loosely.
Mhm.
Like, I forget what verse it is where it says, you say you're going to go here and you're going to do this and you're going to do that and start a family and buy a house, but you don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow. What you
Yeah.
should say is, if it's God's will, I'll do this or that. But you leave the results up to him and not try
Yeah.
to fabricate the life you want.
Yeah. I think that's something to really stick into is the what does our mind say when we say we're going to free things up, or we turn these things over, or we don't look on the results. What's going to attack us on that? It's like, wait a minute.
Mhm.
Yes, you are. You have to. What, are you kidding me? It's irresponsible, right? Oh my
Mhm.
goodness. But when I've done that, and I try to do that more and more as a first go to for me, he takes care of things. And again, it's a faith thing. It's, you got to step in. It's like walking out on the plank blindfolded and just going. And it's not an easy thing, and it's a journey. That's why we do this podcast. Is I
Mhm.
I do, because I know that I'm going to get something that helps me to focus on those things, because those battles come. Because I am doing things that frees me. Maybe I should do something that frees me. you know. So the E then, is, there's two, right? Embrace incremental, and I think that goes directly with what you just said. Is do the next right thing.
Mhm.
Just do the next right thing. Embrace incremental. And I think that's a society thing. We want the big result, and we want it in the least amount of time possible to get there.
Mhm.
And I don't say that's a bad thing, right? But
Mhm.
sometimes it does take that incremental focus so that we don't freeze, because we don't see what we want as that outcome so quickly.
Mhm.
So to do that, the second E is ease in and keep moving. There's a phrase that I learned, at a company that I was with, that ultimately the company was really running fast. I mean, think of running around a track. I mean, the company was just always like super fast at things. But the philosophy when they onboarded us was, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. So they said, let's pick up things deeply and take your time in doing that, because once you are smooth, then you can become fast at the tempo. So that's sort of what I meant by ease in and keep moving,
Mhm.
is to just go ahead and start and don't feel like you have to sprint right away. In
Mhm.
fact, learn the technique so that when it comes time to sprint, you'll have the skills to be able to do that. So that's what I kind of meant there.
Mhm. Well, have one thing to say, but I don't know if it doesn't have anything to do with those two things. So what's your S? And let's see if it fits there.
Well,
And
the S I wrote. Okay, so we got forward movement first, release the grip on results,
Mhm.
embrace the incremental, ease in and keep moving. And then the S is, see how free it can be.
Mhm.
Um,
So, okay, so I'm kind of thinking that first one, forward movement, and then the last one, see how free it can be. In my weird brain, kind of go together, because I've been thinking about this, that being free doesn't mean you're never going to be um, tempted to freeze, be frozen again. And it doesn't mean that things aren't going to be scary ever again. Um, as far as how you, I should say, how you feel about it, the feeling of freedom. Like, when I believe in the bigger picture, we are free once God has set us free. But in circumstances as we go along the way, that we're still going to be occasionally afraid, but we need to keep that forward movement going, and
Yeah.
not and see how free it is, instead of turning around to see who's still chasing us. If you escape from something, for example, is how I was thinking about it. If you escape from a kidnapper, or from some place where you've been held captive, you are free, but there's sometimes just that little bit of tinge of fear that pops in, thinking, I hope they're not still following me. And maybe they're after me. Maybe there's something, memories of that are haunting you, that are coming after you to put you back into captivity. I love how Beth Moore says it, that Jesus came to make the captive free, and Satan came to make the free captive. Like, there's always that pull back to being frozen again,
Yeah.
because of human nature and evil in the world, that we have to really be intentional about the things that keep us free. Um,
There's
yeah.
there's a maybe an activational message here. That feeling is going to come. That overwhelmed, oh my, too much on my plate, whatever the thing is, and it may be hard to untether ourselves from that. But if we feel that coming on, maybe maybe we start. Maybe the trigger word would be, "What frees me?" Or some sort of little moment that says, I'm aware of it now. Because I think sometimes we can fall into those kinds of situations, exactly what we talk about on these podcasts with every word we use,
Mm.
including this one, sometimes without really being conscious of, there I go. And it just becomes part of us. So maybe activationally, there's something that says, okay, here comes a little bit of anxiety. Okay, step
Yeah.
back, pray.
Yeah, because I think you always have that choice. Sometimes we make it not as intentionally as we could, but if we can stop long enough to make a choice and say, okay, this is happening. I can either freeze, or I can turn to the one who frees. And everybody has different ways of doing that. So we're not going to tell you, there's some ways that each of us do it, but we're not you. What
Right.
do you do that frees you and helps you turn to the one who frees?
Yeah, I love that. Let's wrap it on that. That's beautiful. So, who frees us? Not just freeze, not able to move, not just frees us up, but who frees us? For me, Psalm 46:10, be still and know that I am God.
Mhm.
And plug to that, like, make that lifestyle, not just a habit or something that we try to do, but make that the go-to in whatever way that does for you. So,
Mhm.
let's wrap it here. I think that's a good closing point. There is, who frees us.
Mhm.
So, Heather, can I have a word with you? A podcast, man. It's so much fun to do this. This is, man. We're deep into our second season. We're almost going to have to say third season. And to reach Heather, heathercarterwrites.com, her blogs, get her book, reach out to her for speaking. And for me,
Mhm.
you can reach me at abovethechatter.com, or social media. Instagram is Above the Chatter, Bruce Pulver. Same with Facebook. And we'd love to have a conversation. You guys are looking for speakers for your organization to kind of talk about the power of our words and impact and intention and all the things that we just love to talk about here. Yeah, we'd love to be of service.
Mhm. Yep. Hope you all have a good week.
We'll talk to you soon, everyone. Join us next time on Can I Have a Word with You? Take care.